right, Nick, let's talk about the LA Chargers. This is a team who's trying to make a comeback out of a season last year where they seemed primed to make some really, really big moves that kind of fell short as far as things were expected. But I think they made some really great moves this offseason, kind of under the radar moves that I think will help them out tremendously in the coming season.
Miles, I agree with you 100%. There's kind of a sneaky good addition the Chargers pulled off this offseason that you dug up that I think will be critical for them come regular season time. But before we get into that news, Chargers fans, got a question for you guys to answer, as always, in the comment section below. This is obviously one of the more storied franchises in NFL, and for all you old heads out there, AFL history. So that's why I've got a question for you guys to answer. Who is the greatest defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman in team history? There is a lot of great names going back through the era of Chargers football, 70s, 80s, early 2000s. A lot of great names to throw out there. But give us the one guy, the greatest Chargers defensive tackle of all time, in the comment section below. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of today's video to hear a word from our partner of today's video, and that, of course, is Neuro. Neuro's got a lot of great products. It gives you a fast and easy boost of energy. We love to take their gums or their minutes before the show. It gives us the energy we need, the spike of energy we need to produce this Chargers content. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of today's video to learn more about Neuro, and here's the important part, to get access to our special discount code. All right, Miles, enough about that. What's the latest out of LA?
Yeah, Nick. So the move that we're going to talk about today isn't like Khalil Mack last year, isn't like JC Jackson. Those were guys who were supposed to be superstars coming on this team. Everyone knew the prowess that they had coming before. Everyone knew their pedigree coming onto this team. But Nick, this is a move that was very under the radar. A lot of people wouldn't even expect this guy to be able to help out the Chargers. But I think he's going to be a really, really smart, sneaky addition if he can make this roster. And that's none other than interior defensive lineman from Coastal Carolina, close to us. This is Gerard Clark, and I'm going to read a little write-up about him, about being an underrated, undrafted free agent, Nick, and how it could potentially help this Chargers team. This was from over on PFF. So this is a hulking presence on the interior at 6'4", 300 and almost 40 pounds. Clark did not post gaudy numbers in his 3 years as a starter at Coastal, but he showed consistent improvement year to year, something that we really like, Nick, when a guy can show consistent improvement every year. As a space eater, pocket pusher from the interior, capping out at a 79.5 defensive grade last season, which isn't too shabby of a grade at all either. Despite his frame, Clark shows a solid first step and good pad level to win leverage battle at the point of attack with the necessary strength and length to split combo blocks and disengage and swallow ball carriers. Clark steps into the Chargers' defensive interior that has added talented bodies yet has struggled mightily against the run over the past couple of years, a facet that may see him pop this summer from a 0 or 1 technique alignment. Nick, I think that is the key here. We heard exactly what we wanted to hear. This guy is a run-stuffing machine. He can take up space. He can fill the center of the field, and this is something, while last year the Chargers kind of needed help everywhere on defense, grading out at 27th overall, tied for 27th defensively. That isn't too good. So they can use all the help that they can get with a guy like Gerard Clark who can really clog the middle. And that's the thing, Nick. This is a big guy. He's got a lot of size on him, but things that people talk about him coming out of college, they talk about his motor. They talk about the 3-down potential. They talk about his incredible power and arm. Like, this is a guy who, although he is very, very big, he can move and he can get the job done. So I think this guy's going to be very interesting to watch through minicamp, through training camp, to see how he progresses, because I think this is a guy who could either carve himself out a niche run stuffing role or potentially be a pretty solid 3-down D lineman for the Chargers. But Nick, what do you think about Gerard Clark, and what do you think he adds to this team potentially?
So first and foremost, let's talk about value for a second. So according to NFL.com, they had Clark rated as a 5th-round prospect. So getting him as an undrafted free agent, that's obviously a lot of value, getting a guy that could have gone in the NFL draft 5th, 6th-round time frame after the draft. Great job by the Chargers to get a guy like that without even having to use a draft pick, even though most projections had him being drafted. So great value for the Los Angeles Chargers to pull in this guy. But you talk about need and improving their defense. You talk about how they were graded out 27th overall. They were graded out 27th overall, but when it comes to run defense, they were the worst on a yards per carry basis. Number 32 in the NFL last season. They gave 5.4 yards per attempt in the running game. That is disastrously bad. That will not get it done. That definitely hurt them a lot in a lot of key situations last year. And bringing in a big run stuffing zero technique. And by zero technique, we mean head up nose tackle. You heard the phrase one technique earlier. That's just on the outside shade of either side of the center. So when you hear 0-1, you're thinking essentially nose tackle. But what having a guy like this size can do as a run stuffing guy, he forces teams when they play against the Los Angeles Chargers, not to be able to just spread them out and run the ball anyway. That's what teams like the Kansas City Chiefs do such a great job of. They have all those great wide receivers and tight ends. They spread everybody out, and they get teams light in the box and they're able to run up the middle and be extremely productive. The Los Angeles Chargers fans know that too much. Unfortunately, Chiefs have had a lot of success against them doing that. But having a lot of size at the nose tackle position can negate that, because you're not looking for a great pass rush out of a guy who's lined up at a 0 or 1 technique. You're looking at a guy to physically play the run. You have this guy come in and Clark winning that position, doing that job. It doesn't matter how far you spread out if you got a guy that can cover 2 gaps in the middle of the field. The New England Patriots, for a better part of 2 decades, mastered this technique. They'd always had massive defensive tackles. Vince Wilfork was the most famous example. And it didn't matter how far Peyton Manning spread the team out. They couldn't run the football. Could run the football against the New England Patriots. And that's exactly the same kind of strategy the Chargers need to enact, because they love in Brandon Staley's defense to play that 2 deep look. They do not like bringing an additional safety in the box. If you don't want to do that, you have to get beefy up front. That's why I love this addition of Clark. And one more point on Clark that I really like, there's 2 things I always look for in impact players to come out of the draft, especially if they're later rounds or undrafted free agents. Are they mature? Are they grown-ups, and are they leaders? And this was a redshirt senior out of Coastal Carolina. So, this isn't some 20, 21-year-old kid. This is a grown man. He's more mature than a lot of these guys coming out of college at this point. So I really appreciate that. And number 2, Miles, he's a team captain on a really good Coastal Carolina football team. So, this is a team guy. He's a leadership guy. He's a guy who's going to put in the work day in and day out. And when you have both of those factors molding into one player, I think that's a strong indicator that he can be set up for a big presence early in his career starting the 2023 season. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.